Minnesota Vikings fans, what is up? We are here today to recap the season and kind of go through an off-season wish list of what me, yours truly, as a Vikings fan, wants to see the team do. All right, so first on our wish list, coming off the holiday season, so we wrote down a wish list here of what I would like to see the Minnesota Vikings do as we flip the page and go into the offseason while half the NFL teams are enjoying playoff football. First and foremost, keep Brian Flores at all costs. That is the number one goal for the offseason because this man, let me tell you, has saved this team's ass time and time again when the offense has not been good under Kevin O'Connell. The Vikings brought in KOC. He was the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl winning LA Rams, and we thought our offense is going to be crazy explosive. Well, it hasn't been, okay? And this last year, we can blame it on McCarthy or whatever you want to say. But even in the years past, it's been average. If you look at the numbers, our offense has not been top 5 or top 10 in the league. And, yeah, you can keep blaming the quarterback all you want, but that's why if we weren't going to have the Matthew Stafford quarterback is the reason we brought in an offensive guru and Kevin O'Connell to fix the offense. Well, the offense has been average, and the defense has been great. And that's why we've been able to be above 500 again this season. I mean, that defense was lights out towards the down the stretch. So my wish list number one is to keep Brian Flores because I think he does a hell of a job. I also think that, I don't know if this is, badly talking about KOC, but he calls plays for the defense. So Kevin O'Connell essentially is half a head coach because I'll give him more credit than that, a little bit more than half. I'm sure he's situationally paying attention for sure when the Vikes defense is on the field, but Flores is in control of that. And Kevin O'Connell, if he needs to go talk to JJ McCarthy or, make some adjustments for the offense, he can do that while Brian Flores is running things on that side of the ball. So if he leaves, I mean, that's just a whole lot more on Kevin O'Connell's shoulders. And I've already been critical of how KOC has handled, mostly the JJ McCarthy situation. So, that's my wish list is keep, Brian Flores at all costs. Now, if he leaves to get a head coaching job somewhere, there's not much you can do. He's going to go and he's going to take that head coaching job, and good for B-Flow. But if he does, I would like the team to keep it in-house. Keep Durante Jones and make him your your defensive coordinator. Keep it in-house. At least he knows the guys. He knows their strengths. He knows their weaknesses. And the fact that he hasn't been a defensive coordinator before obviously makes me feel like he will kind of hold on to a lot of that Brian Flores pedigree, which I want. I want this aggressive defense, especially if we can draft some help in the secondary, then keep them being aggressive with our corners hopefully being able to cover more. Now, Durante is the cornerbacks coach, so, we'll need to fill in that blank and fill in that hole, but it's a lot easier to fill in the hole for a DB's coach than it is for a defensive coordinator. So I would want to keep Durante Jones if that's the case. And the only silver lining, the only one, because there's not really a silver lining here. If Brian Flores leaves, the silver lining is that I pray and I hope that means that now Kevin O'Connell will put his ego aside and actually hire an offensive coordinator that's not just his buddy in Wes Phillips, one that has years of experience, one that has been proven that they can run the show, and maybe kind of bring in a sort of B-Flow, but on the offensive side to kind of allow now Kevin O'Connell, which he would have to do, kind of be more play the middle and not just be an offensive head coach. Now he will have to be a head coach who oversees the offense and the defense. So if you're going to take your foot off the offensive gas a little bit, then you might want to fill someone in there as the offensive coordinator who's willing to take on an extended role and a bigger role than maybe Wes Phillips has or than you have when you've been calling plays. And so to me, my wish list has either Mike McDaniel or Brian Daboll, please. On my wish list is regardless if Brian Flores stays, please bring in one of these guys. But I don't see a world in which, Kevin O'Connell moves his ego aside and stops calling plays. I think he should. The offense has been average. I think it would be a hell of an upgrade to have two offensive minds, let's say, if Daboll comes in and to help kind of fix the situation that I think Kevin O'Connell made with JJ McCarthy. And again, I've touched on this before, but, Why didn't he play in the preseason? If you had problems with his footwork and his mechanics, why did he play 2 series in the preseason? You keep saying he needs reps. Well, you had 3 preseason games to let him get some reps, and you didn't do that when that is the time to put him out there to learn. And then you decided to gamble on that and have that happen during the regular season. And then you did soft bench him. And all the Vikings fans that don't think it was a soft benching, the kid was in uniform for 2 games as an emergency quarterback, so he could play. Okay? He could play. All right? So, again, he was cleared, which means he could play. And then we just kept hearing, oh, he needs to be 100% before we put him out there. And now at the end of the season, so 2 months after that, it's week 17, and we're putting him out there with a fracture in his hand. So, again, if you believe that he wasn't soft bench, you're just a biased Kevin O'Connell lover. And let me tell you something. He's lying to you. He was lying to you when he said that they are waiting for him to be fully healthy from his ankle injury. The proof is how 2 months later they threw his ass out there without being fully healthy from his hand injury. That's why the kid had to leave halfway through the game. So this is what it is. All right, continuing on the wish list. I hate to be this guy because I don't want to call for somebody's job, but I wish him the best of luck to find a job somewhere else. Matt Daniels, special teams coordinator, you got to go. Okay? There was way too many instances where we had a solid kickoff return that was flagged. Flag on the play. How many times did we see that? I mean, it got to the point by week 15, anytime Miles Price had a solid kickoff return, I didn't believe it because I knew that yellow ticker with the flag was coming up. It was just too good to be true. And Tavierre Thomas gets flagged, and then you see him over there, the gunner, and you see him on the sideline laughing with Matt Daniels. Then he does it again. I mean, again, if you are going to allow mediocrity, you are going to get mediocrity. And that's what that showed me. I forget what exact game it was, but I mean, the guy that Tavierre Thomas had back-to-back flags, and I'm not even trying to call him out. He's playing the game, and he made a mistake. I'm calling out the coaches for not being hard enough on the coaching or benching him after the flag, instead laughing with him. I mean, what is that? You got to expect excellence. Matt Daniels is lucky Will Reichard was lights out this year, or he would have been gone halfway through the season, I would like to think. But maybe Kevin O'Connell is just too soft to actually fire anybody midway through the season. I still might have let him go halfway through the season after seeing how the special teams was being ran, but that's it. So, again, Matt Daniels, thanks for your time. Good luck. I hope you become the special teams coordinator somewhere else very, very quickly, but not here. Not here, my friend. See you later. All right. Off-season wish list. Trust the process and stick with J.J. McCarthy. And the second part of that is sign Kirk Cochains. If Kirk Cousins is able to get out of that massive Atlanta contract he had signed a couple years ago, bring him home. Kirk knows how to run the Kevin O'Connell offense. Kirk is a veteran who showed that he can still quarterback towards the end of the season with the Falcons. You're not bringing him to be your starter or your franchise quarterback because you trust the process and you trust J.J. McCarthy. You're bringing him in as insurance for what has seemed to be an injury-prone young quarterback in McCarthy, that if he goes out for 3 or 4 games, you don't have to hold your breath that it's going to be a Carson Wentz type of shellacking out there. And that at least Kirk Cousins has some rapport with Justin Jefferson and your receivers. It hasn't been that long since he was on the Vikings. He knows the playbook and the coaches, and he can come in. And also, I mean, we saw the quarterback series. He's a great parent. He can come and parent J.J. McCarthy and teach the kid and calm the kid down, although Kirk seems like he stresses out a lot. But I'm just saying, that just seems like the perfect kind of quarterback to bring in. I don't want to trade away any assets for a Mac Jones or whatever. Like, no, if we're trading assets, it better be Joe Burrow, okay? And I don't even want Lamar Jackson. I don't want to have a quarterback whose highlight tape is him being a running back. You are a quarterback, which your job is to pass. You're passing the football. That's what I want on your highlight tape. Precision passes. All right. So again, if we're getting Joe Burrow, and then let's do that. I'm cool with trading assets. That means next year you better win the Super Bowl. But if you're not doing that, even, middle of the pack contract for a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, he can come back. I think he enjoyed his time in Minnesota. He knows the staff and all that. It just seems like a perfect fit to me. And if he beats out JJ McCarthy, then you take your chance next year with Kirk Cousins, and you know that you're moving on from McCarthy after that. And at that point, next year, you trade for the Joe Burrow or your dream quarterback that you want to trade for and give all the assets for that. Or you know what? Then you start losing players and maybe even Jefferson, and you just have to draft a quarterback. But at the end of the day, you would have to do that if Mac Jones ended up not leading you to at least a playoff win next year. So again, don't be gambling with our assets for something that's not guaranteed and Mac Jones having a lights out season. Okay. So if we're going to pay for average, give me Kirk Cousins. And let's pay low for that and trust the kid. I believe in JJ McCarthy. Again, I just think he needs, time on task, which he should have gotten in preseason, and a coach that isn't going to just flip back and forth halfway through the season on what his coaching strategy was. Like in the beginning, it was all about his footwork and his mechanics. And then suddenly right before that Washington game, he was like, oh, I told him to forget about that and don't think about that and just go ball out, which to me acknowledged the mistake either way. You either made a mistake by telling him to worry about his mechanics and all that in the beginning, which now caused him to not play great and stink in his first few starts. So that would have been the mistake. Or if you actually believe that that's your coaching philosophy and that he needs to fix that, then your mistake is now telling him, don't worry about it. Well, then what are you doing? Like, then you don't want the best for him. So again, I have my problems with Kevin O'Connell and the way he handled this season. All right, last few things, because I'm not trying to take up too much of your time here. Ryan Kelly is probably retiring, and I honestly think he should. Too many concussions, and he had another one in the last week of the season. It's time. And honestly, we can't deal with having a center in and out with a young quarterback, all right? So upgrade at the center position, free agency, or you spend a high draft pick on the top center in the draft. That's the way I see it. But I would rather just sign the best free agent center, and he can come in and just by hopefully remaining healthy and having that consistency, he can bolster the O-line. And if you think that's Blake Brandel, fine, but I don't want that because he proved to be a good utility man, and that's important because if Will Fries or Donovan Jackson needs to miss a week or two and you have Blake Brandel back there, at least you're not panicking and you're feeling like, all right, he can steady the ship for the next few weeks. So that's that with the O-line. And honestly, with Christian Darrisaw, it's the same thing. He can't be in and out. He can't be, pulling himself out of games and deciding when he's going to practice. Like, all right, is he healthy or is he not? If he's not healthy, then we don't need this inconsistency. Like, no. If he's healthy, then he's practicing every freaking day and he's playing the whole game. And we're not doing no pitch count and, like none of that. Okay? And I'm not blaming him. If he didn't feel right, he didn't feel right. But then he shouldn't have been out there. That's the way I see it. Okay. Let me calm down a little. Couple things. Let's re-sign Jalen Redmond, please. Which they will. No doubt about it. So at least that's something we can celebrate. The guy came in, undrafted free agent, had a hell of a year. Interior D-line bolstered just because he was a beast in the middle. And let's re-sign Eric Wilson. Okay? That guy came back after leaving for a couple seasons and played great outside off-ball linebacker. I mean, the guy was a stud. Okay? Yeah, Eric Wilson was tremendous. Let's re-sign him. He's not that old. At least with the way he played this year, he's got a couple years left. And yeah, we could use a guy like him. Now, this is where it gets tricky. We don't have cap space. So people need to get traded. Hawkinson, it's time. Okay? So I don't know what happens there or if we can find a trade partner for him, but ideally if we can get a trade for the Hawk, I think that would free up cap space. We can draft a tight end. We can sign a tight end. I mean, realistically, a tight end is important, but that's why we have Josh Oliver. He's not a pass catching tight end, but at the same time, you also used up a draft pick last year on Gavin Bartholomew. If he's anything of a pass catcher, let's see it. And sign a tight end. I mean, again, Hawkinson hasn't been lights out, okay? And if there's not a world in which you can find a tight end next season that can get 51 catches for 438 yards, or the year prior, 41 catches for 455 yards, 3 touchdowns combined over the past 2 seasons, the 3 of them coming this year. And last year he came back from injury, so I'll give him the pass then. But 51 catches for 438 yards, yeah, you better be able to find that in free agency. I'm sorry. And you know what? Also, a lot of times he had to block because of it. That's why you have Josh Oliver, okay? So we don't need Hawkinson. And I hate to do this too, because some guys I think we're just going to have to get traded if we want to have cap space. And I saw a tweet earlier about possibly getting rid of Jonathan Grenard. I want to keep Grenard. I think he's great. But if you have to trade him, that's why you spent draft capital and drafted Dallas Turner, and it's time. He finished great down the stretch. He had finished with 8 sacks. Grenard just was injured all year long, and honestly, he got to the quarterback a lot and just wouldn't take them down for whatever reason. I think he would have a bounce back year next year. He had shoulder surgery, so he missed the last few games. But that's why you have Dallas Turner, okay? If Dallas Turner goes from 8 to 10 sacks next year and gets 10 or 12 sacks next year, I mean, that's kind of what I expect Grenard to get next year. And that's why you drafted him. That's why you drafted Dallas Turner. So you use that draft pick and the cheaper salary and you move off Grenard. And if you can trade him and get anything back, maybe you get a 3rd round pick back and that's the pick you use for the tight end. I don't know. But you got to figure it out somehow, and tough decisions have to be made, and that's part of it. And the last one on my wish list really is to re-sign Jalen Nailor. And if that means trading Jordan Addison, so be it. Jordan Addison has been given opportunities time and time again. He's an unbelievable wide receiver, but he has not been an unbelievable citizen with all his off-field stuff and speeding tickets and going missing in London and whatnot. You're an adult man. You can't be going missing for team meetings and not answering your phone. Like, this is your job. It's a legitimate job. So I think we could find a trade partner for him. If you get a 2nd round draft pick back, then use that on another wide receiver that now can be your wide receiver 3. And that's why you drafted a wide receiver last year in the 3rd round, Ty Felton, who didn't do much this year. Those draft picks got to start coming through for you. That's why you draft. So you can get off the big contracts with the guys in the later years. And Addison's not in his later years, which is why you might actually be able to get a good asset back for him. So I don't know. We figured that out, but I do want Jalen Nailor to come back. I don't think he'll break the bank. I don't think he's going to get as big of a contract as people think. He has nice numbers and he's a nice wide receiver. But because he doesn't have the numbers, I think, he might be a little slept on, especially when it comes to negotiation. And I think his agent's going to want more, but I think teams are going to come back and say like, hey, yeah, sure, we can see it in the film that he may be nice, but how do we know that he's going to make these plays? He had a drop that led to an interception against the Giants. So, again, that's the wish list. I mean, I guess I'll throw one more in there. Harrison Smith, please come back. But again, if he doesn't come back, congratulations on a Hall of Fame career. It's been a blast watching him play. But it looks like he can still play, man. So if he wants to come back, let's have him back. But I think a lot of that depends on Brian Flores and what happens there. So we will see. Again, that's the number one thing, is to keep Brian Flores if you can at all costs. And by all costs, I just mean you can't let him get away and be an offensive coordinator somewhere or defensive coordinator somewhere else. If he gets a head coaching job, I mean, so be it. Good for him. There's nothing you could do there. So that's my wish list. Vikings fans, what do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What's on your wish list? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Appreciate y'all. And we will definitely get into more Vikings football as the offseason rolls on. I mean, what else is there to do, right? So, Skol Vikes. I will talk to y'all on the next one.